Hey everyone, welcome back to Crime Weekly News. I'm Derek Levasseur.
And I'm Stephanie Harlow.
We're here going to talk to you about another crime in the headlines. Tragic one this week. They're all tragic usually when we're covering, and nothing is good. That's the one fortunate thing about covering true crime. It's usually not for good reason other than cases being solved after a long period of time. But this is another situation where we have a tragic loss resulting from something that was absolutely preventable. It was a bad decision. We're going to get into it. It involves a DUI. We're going to give you all the specifics, but there's definitely some things we can take from it as we go throughout our daily lives. But before we get into a couple small things, K-Cups, at this point, they're sold out. So I apologize for that. It did extremely well. So thank you everyone for the support. There is a little bit more of a turnaround time on it. So as some people have reached out saying, hey, is there like a waiting list or whatever? There's no waiting list. But overall, I'm ordering double the amount of K-Cups that I ordered last time. It will take, and this isn't up to me, it'll take anywhere from 30 to 45 days before I have them in our offices so that we can ship them out. But when we do, I'll send out an email. We'll also announce it on here as well. So again, thank you everyone for the support. It means the world to us. It boosted our criminal coffee fund. We're almost up to $10,000 total that we've raised since starting Criminal Coffee. So it's a really big thing for us to be able to give that much money to causes we care about, and we wouldn't be able to do it without you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys so much. So everyone proved me wrong about the K-Cups, and I am not upset about it.
Yeah, no, it's a good thing, and we're going to keep doing it. So like I said, for those who didn't get the first round, just stand by. They're coming.
Yeah. So was there anything else? Because you said a couple things.
Oh, a couple things. We're trying to, I guess, a couple experiments here. Stephanie has purchased the uplighting that I have here. We talked about it last week. She's turned down her lighting. So some of you were saying she looked a little blurrier than me. It could be the lighting, but we think she looks great, but we'll see what you guys feel now that our lighting backgrounds are similar. We think it might be easier on your eyes. If you're watching on your phone or something, you won't have that transition where her background's usually really bright and mine's more dark. It's kind of more of a similar vibe. Now, I really like it. So we'll see what you guys think. If you don't, let us know. We can always make adjustments. And then listen, I didn't expect this, but Stephanie, you were right as well, because you said that this is the hair. And I can't believe how many comments I got about the hair. Most of them, 90% of them were amazing. Some were like, is something wrong with Derek? Is he going through something? What is the thing? But overall, I'm going to keep the hair like this. Actually, I ran a little bit and I just said, hey, you know what? Let's go all out. Let's just not do shit to the hair. Let's just literally come in here and record. So that's what I'm doing. Backed by popular demand, no gel hair, Derek.
Yeah. I mean, when I popped on the Squadcast and saw your hair like that, I was like, I'm not going to say anything, but I see. I mean,
how do I not? Did you see the comments?
Yeah, I did.
I mean, it was like ridiculous. I felt like a new person. I really did. I was like, I'm almost 40 years old, and have I been doing it wrong this whole time?
And I mean, I'm just sitting here looking at us now, and you look like this little white boy over there, and I actually have some like pigment in my skin, which who knew? Yeah. Without the lighting on my face, like I'm darker than you, like a couple shades darker than you. This is crazy. And
you have more shadows, so I think it might be like a sharper image for them. But overall, we'll see. That's what we make adjustments for.
Yeah, we all want more shadows on our face. That's exactly what every woman says. She's like, she wakes up and she's like, I really wish that I could just have more shadows on my face.
Your face is lit all the way around. It's just a little bit, I know you're self-conscious about your glasses area, but I don't see a difference. I think it looks better. But way down below, let us know, and we're sure you will. So let us know what you like. Do you like the old look? Do you like this look? We'll make adjustments. This is a big deal for Stephanie. She doesn't make adjustments like this.
This is very difficult because all I see when I'm looking at myself now is the shadow from my glasses, which is eliminated when I have an overhead light. So,
but your face, any type of actual contouring to your face is eliminated as well. You just look like a white, just like a block, just nothing there.
I looked like a big white flawless,
like a star. You just look like like you couldn't see any definition in your face whatsoever. Just lips and eyes.
That's all I want to be is lips and eyes, man.
Seriously, you look like one of those filters that they just like cranked it all the way up. Anyways, serious note, because we're laughing. I was reading this, the information on this before we started, but why don't you let everyone know what we have? Because this is a tough one.
Yeah, actually, this popped up on Facebook, which I'm never on Facebook. And I was like scrolling through Facebook and I saw a GoFundMe and I started reading the story in a Facebook post and it ruined my entire day. Not even my entire day. I thought about it all weekend because it's just one of those cases that strikes you and it's one of those cases that makes you remember we're not guaranteed any amount of time here on this earth, right? Anything could happen. It could be the best day of your life. Everything could be going flawlessly. You could be glowing with happiness. You could be looking forward to your future. And in a second, you're gone. And it's very sobering when you have a realization. And I mean, I feel like we do a lot in what we do. There's always that realization. There's always that hanging over you that nothing's promised. You're not entitled to any amount of, life or days. But this just really messed me up because it kind of centers around the happiest day of these two people's lives. And that's 35-year-old Samantha Miller and her fiance, Aric Hutchinson, who became her husband. And then minutes after they said their vows, minutes after they became man and wife, they got into a golf cart with a couple other people in Foley Beach, South Carolina. And they were being driven away from their reception. There was like sparklers, there was fireworks. It was an evening reception on the beach. And then they are being driven away, to go to the honeymoon suite to start their lives together as man and wife when they were basically slammed into by a vehicle. A car speeding up to them, slammed into the back of the golf cart. The golf cart was thrown over 100 yards. It rolled several times. And this new bride, just minutes after her wedding, she was killed on impact. Samantha was killed on impact from blunt force trauma. And her husband, Aric, has been hospitalized with numerous broken bones and a brain injury. He's already had to undergo 2 reconstructive surgeries. And obviously we know when he's healed physically from that, it's not even over. He has to now remember that the happiest day of his life is now the worst day of his life. And 2 others in the golf cart were injured. And I did see some comments where people are like, oh, they shouldn't be driving a golf cart at night. Like, screw you people, honestly. I can't even believe that anybody would say that because first of all, yes, it was in the evening, but the golf cart was equipped with lights. It was legal to drive at night. They were doing everything they should have done. And any vehicle coming up to them would have noticed had the driver not been intoxicated.
And by the way, that's very prevalent to be riding around on golf carts in like any of the beach areas, Florida,
yes,
California, even here in the East Coast, Rhode Island, down by the water. Most people choose to take like a golf cart as opposed to a vehicle.
Well, yeah, and they were coming from their wedding, right? So you'll often see that too. Like the wedding planners will have a golf cart to transport the bride and the groom to the venue, away from the venue. Like they're not going to be walking around in their tux and like long white dress. So completely normal. If the driver had not been intoxicated, she would have seen this golf cart. And I'm not even necessarily positive that she didn't see the golf cart, in my opinion, because what we have 25-year-old Jamie Komorski. She was apprehended by authorities shortly after the collision. Police initially could smell alcohol on her, and she told them that she'd only consumed 1 beer and that she had a drink with tequila in it about an hour prior. But when she was asked to perform the sobriety test, they said she nearly fell over. She was uncooperative with police. She was very unsteady on her feet. She could barely stand up. And then when they asked her to assess her own sobriety on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being completely sober, she answered 8. So, I mean, I guess she was self-aware enough to realize that she was very far from being completely sober. But she was driving a rental car, and the police pulled some data from the rental car, and they showed that she was driving more than twice the speed limit. She was going 65 miles per hour. I think it's 25 in that area. And she only briefly hit the brakes before slamming into the golf cart at around 10 p.m. And they did take a blood draw, to see how intoxicated she was. That has not been released. But if they could smell alcohol on her breath, if she could not perform the sobriety test, if she could barely stand, I'm going to go ahead and say she was pretty intoxicated. She was arrested and charged with 1 count of reckless homicide and 3 counts of felony DUI, resulting in great bodily harm. It's just it's crazy. I'm saying they're just riding their golf cart, like in love, looking into each other's eyes. And the next minute, boom, somebody just runs into you, going 65 miles an hour, runs into the back of the golf cart. Absolutely bananas. And it's just very sad. There is a GoFundMe. We will link it. That is kind of what drew my attention to it when I saw it on Facebook. And I did donate because to me, no amount of money can ever repair what these families have gone through, what Aric is going to go through. The fact that, I just feel like your life is going to be forever changed. But Aaron's mother, or Aric's mother, Annette Hutchinson, she actually started the GoFundMe to help pay for Samantha's funeral expenses as well as her son's extensive medical bills. And she said something in the GoFundMe that really, it really stood out to me and it really hurt me. She said, quote, "I was handed Aric's wedding ring in a plastic bag at the hospital 5 hours after Sam placed it on his finger, and they read each other their vows. Aric has lost the love of his life," end quote. And it just shows you, like, 1 minute, everything's perfect. The next minute, like, your world is turned upside down and in chaos. So we really do have to be very grateful for every good moment that we have and, try to keep things in perspective and not let the small stuff get us down so much. And Samantha's sister, Maddie, and her mother, Lisa, they also say they want to be there for Aric as he recovers. And Maddie said, quote, "When he gets out of the hospital, it's not going to be over. He's going to need a lot of support physically and emotionally, and we will be there for him too," end quote. And obviously, the accident has put a spotlight on traffic safety in a community that's already sort of been aware that there's like speeding happening in these places where there's lots of like foot traffic, where there's lots of tourists, where there's lots of people just like enjoying the beach vibe, and there's a lot of people speeding around. So Foley Beach residents in 2018 were able to convince the South Carolina Department of Transportation to lower the speed limit by 5 miles per hour. So before it was 30, now it's 25. And this girl, what was her name again? Jessica? Am I right? Jessica? Something.
I thought it was Jamie.
Jamie was driving 65 miles per hour in a 25 mile per hour zone. Unbelievable.
Yeah. When I was in patrol, it's very known throughout law enforcement, throughout the country. I'm sure it's the same. Everywhere I've gone, it's been the same, where DUIs are like the worst thing to do as a cop because they're so involved, right? It's like from the minute you pull the vehicle over, the standard field sobriety testing, all these different things, and then the report itself, there's like a checklist. Every type of crime has like a different elements that you have to put in your report to show how that the crime was committed. With DUIs, and we've talked about this a little bit, you not only have to lay out all the elements that led you to the arrest, but you also have to put in there all the things that could be used as a defense, right? Like I asked them if they had any injuries. They didn't. I made sure that they were turned away from the overhead lights on my vehicle so that they weren't distracted. I asked them if they had any issues with their eyes. There's like a million things that you have to do in order in that report, because if it's not in the report, as I've said before, it didn't happen. So on average, like a good cop who's done a lot of DUIs, it could take them anywhere from 2 to 3 hours between the arrest, the report, and then the processing of the suspect. So you do have situations where a cop will pull someone over, and if they're close to their house and they have a DUI, they may use discretion and say, "Hey, listen, let's just get them home." Well, in some cases, that could be because they just want to give this person the benefit of the doubt. In other cases, it could be because the cop just doesn't want to do the paperwork. Either way, when I was a patrolman and when I was a sergeant, this was something that I was really strict on. And I wasn't strict on a ton of things, but as a supervisor, I had a zero tolerance policy for DUIs because of this right here. Because there's many situations, and I'm sure everybody who's watching this right now has watched like a Facebook post or an Instagram post. We've all seen like these DUI stops. And in some cases, the person seems like a good person. You sometimes a young person who's in college or whatever, and we've all been there, right? Where you make a mistake, you're out having one drink too many. Then as you're driving home, it starts to catch up to you. Now you're drunk and you're just trying to get home, and the big bad policeman stops you. And I've definitely seen the comments. I mean, I'm sure you have too, where it's like, why would they ruin this girl or this boy's life? They were being cooperative. They were borderline. Why not just bring them home? I'm not saying that's the majority.
I've never seen those comments, and I hope to God I never do, because they will hear from me.
Yeah, no, I've definitely seen them where it's like, oh, it's, the cops are just trying to meet their quota or whatever. So you have a situation where, yeah, you could give them the pass, but more than likely they're just going to do it again. If they got away with it. You don't even know
how drunk they are. Like, they could be drunk, but like the majority of the drunkenness hasn't even settled in yet. Like, what if they just drank and it's only been 30 minutes and they haven't even gotten as drunk as they're going to be? You don't know.
Well, that's why in a DUI, you have to do 2 tests. So when you go into when you actually get into the station, when you put them on the breathalyzer, or if you do it out on scene, but the actual breathalyzer, you'll take 1 test You'll blow into the machine. It'll print out a card. It'll say your BAC. Then I believe it's 30 minutes later, you have to do it again.
Right.
And the reason you have to do it again is to obviously confirm that the first test was accurate. But secondly, it gives you an indication as to whether they were on the way up or down, right? Like if their BAC is 0.08, they're just barely drunk, right? They're just barely past.
I mean, would it matter if they were on their way up or down?
It wouldn't, but it makes your case stronger in court because obviously all these little variables come into it where if the first one they blew 0.08 and the second one they blow 0.012 or 0.12
higher,
you can say to the judge, listen, I don't know how much higher it would have gone if we would have kept doing this, but they were on the way up even 30 minutes later.
Yeah.
So they were very intoxicated. Now, if you do 0.08 at the time when you stop them and it's below the legal, that could also hurt the case if a judge is lenient. So overall, this is why we have a zero tolerance policy with this, because these are the types of things can happen. We don't know Jamie from a hole in the wall. She could be an amazing person that had plans to do a lot of great things, and this could just be one simple accident. But the reality is she has forever changed the lives of hundreds of people that knew these two individuals.
And her own life too. I mean,
her for the most part, I don't want to sensationalize it here, but depending on the sentencing she gets, her life is ruined. And if she is a good person, the idea that she's just taken a life and changed the life of another person would dramatically affect her mental stability, probably for the rest of her life, as I know it would for me. So there's a lot of people who are ruined just by the poor decision of drinking too much, but more importantly, getting into your car. There's really no excuse for it in this day and age.
I was just thinking that. We have Ubers, we have Lyfts. Exactly. It's inexcusable at this point in time.
There's so many options. Yeah. There's so many options.
And listen, like I will say, like, of course, people make mistakes. You're not making a mistake when you get in a car knowingly drunk and drive. That's not an innocent mistake. That's not a small mistake. That is a choice. And mistakes have consequences, right? But choices have bigger consequences. When it comes, it's like, oh, I accidentally got in the car and started driving. You know, you made a choice. Let's not like say, I didn't mean to. You didn't mean to. But you made a choice when you knew you had consumed alcohol, and then you sat in your car and you pressed the button or turned the key and made it start. You made a choice. You can no longer call it a mistake. And listen, I'm not perfect. We all know I like to imbibe. We all know I like to drink. I have only driven once after drinking. Once. It was so long ago. I was like young in my 20s, and I remember it to this day how like white knuckled I was on my way home because I knew I was like drunk. And I was like, holy shit, like, I just need to get home. And I kept saying in my head, like, I got to get home safe. Like, I was driving so freaking slow. Like, if I got pulled over, it'd be for driving too slow. I was driving so slow. I was like white knuckled. And as soon as I got home, I parked, I walked inside, and I fell to my knees. And I'm not a super religious person, but I was like, whoever's up there, thank you so much. I will never do this again. And I've never done it again because you're putting not only your own life on the line, but anybody else's life on the line that's on the road with you. And it's not fair, it's not right, and it's not responsible.
And it's not worth the risk.
No.
Right? There's nothing that's going to get your car home. You can get your car the next day. So I think overall, it's just something where we've all been guilty of doing things that we regret in hindsight. And maybe like you, in your case, you've gotten away with it, but you don't know how many times you can pull that off before something like this happens. And as far as the incident itself, it's pretty clear. Everyone knows when you're drunk, your reaction time is a lot slower. She's making bad decisions by going 65 and a 25.
You're disoriented, yeah.
Yeah. So when you do notice something where it does appear that she hit her brakes briefly before, if she had been sober, well, there's a combination of things here that led to this, right? She's going so fast that even if she was completely sober, going 65, even if you see it in enough time, by the time you hit the brakes, there's going to be skidding. You're probably still going to strike that vehicle. Now add in the element that you're intoxicated, where we've all seen the videos, right, where the reactionary time of a person under the influence is a lot less. So it takes longer for her to identify what's in front of her, and then longer for her brain to tell her feet to hit the brake. And by the time her foot actually hit the brake, it was way too late in conjunction with the speed, and you have something like this resulting. She clearly hit them at a high rate of speed, which is why the cart flew 100, you said 100 feet or 100 yards? 100 yards. Basically a football field.
Yeah.
I mean,
insane.
That's crazy. So that just tells you how hard she hit that vehicle.
The police said when they like pulled up, oh my God, when they pulled up to the scene of the accident, they said they saw like it was like apocalyptic. They saw like this overturned golf cart and just bodies like scattered around it. It's
that's
insane
terrible
to me.
Well, we can't change what happened, but we can definitely help, and we hope that you guys will do that. As Stephanie mentioned a few minutes ago, we will make sure to include the link in the description below. We will also maybe throw it up on the screen right here. I think Shannon can do that. We'll make sure we have the link. If you have a couple bucks and you want to help this family out, please do so. I will make sure that I do as well when I get off. Stephanie already has. And again, we can help them out a little bit by covering this case, talking about it, maybe taking a little bit that we tell people that it might not even be yourself. It might be a friend or family member where you guys are out and your cousin or someone says, yeah, no, I'm not too bad. I can make it home. Maybe this story pops in your head and you say, no, just get an Uber or I'll take you home. Something like that, where maybe just this little bit of a reminder is all you need to make the right decision in a difficult situation.
And it's more common. Yeah, it's more common than you might think. Like,
oh, yeah, it happens every day.
It happens so much. Like, I tell you, and I'm not even like being hyperbolic here. Almost every single person I knew in high school has now they call it DUI, but like back in the day, they used to call it DWI. Now all I see is DUI. I don't see DWIs anymore. Like
different states use different terminology.
Okay, so in New York, they call it a DWI, but you can get a DUI. Like if you're driving and you're like high on weed or something, then it's a DUI, driving under the influence. But like driving while intoxicated, DWI, almost every single person I knew in high school has one, at least one. Okay, at least one.
Oh, that's scary.
That's scary, man. That's scary. And people wonder why I don't want to leave my house. Why would I?
Well, that's a whole different story.
With you damn clowns drunk and driving all over the place in my hometown, please get out of here.
She just admitted to being one of them.
No,
one time
in my 20s, one time. And I was literally so careful. Like, I can't even imagine driving fast while drunk and driving. Like, that is a whole level that my anxiety cannot even comprehend. Like, I'm drunk. Screw it. Let's just like speed around. Like, that is a different kind of personality from mine. Okay. For sure. Not my personality. So like, I'm not a reckless person, all right? I can be a little irresponsible, but I'm not reckless. You can't be irresponsible and reckless. Recipe for disaster.
Agreed. Well, like I said, we're thinking about the family. We hope that Aric makes a full recovery, and we hope he's able to, have the people around him to help him get through this difficult time.
It looks like he will. Yeah,
he definitely will. And like I said, the link will be down below. Appreciate you joining us here on Crime Weekly News. We will be back on Friday, if you're watching Crime Weekly, with the part 2 of Carla Jan Walker. We're going to wrap that case up. So we appreciate you guys joining us. We will see you on Friday.
Bye.